getting highly technical, what language is Pro Tools written in?
C++.
And why?
There are some historical reasons, of course, but the biggest reason is performance. You know, like if you walked into a post-production studio down in LA, you'd see them running, 700-800 tracks of audio. So the performance of the code is super important. You know, you're trying to stream all of that audio through glitchless. And C++ has a really frustrating syntax, actually, a lot of the time. And dealing with memory management, and pointers and all that stuff is things that I wish we didn't have to deal with. But what it means is that it translates really well into machine language. And so as a C++ coder, you have a really good understanding of, I'm going to write this loop of code, and I understand how that's going to translate to machine code, and I know it's going to run pretty fast. And then you can go back and tune it. But there's a really strong relationship between the language and instruction sets. The higher level languages save you a lot of time, but the levels of abstraction hide the hardware from you. So you don't have a good idea of, if I write this loop in Python, I don't realize it's allocating memory and it's doing all these things that are ridiculous to do in real-time audio processing. So there are applications that write engines in C++ and then write the application itself, the application layer, the higher layers of software in other languages. I've heard of people using Python, even HTML, whatever. And that's okay, but that lower layer of code that's actually reading audio samples off disk, mixing it, applying effects, kicking it out of audio outputs has to be highly performant and also really deterministic. And what I mean by that is that every time a piece of audio goes through it, it has to take roughly the same amount of CPU every single time, or you'll end up in a situation where all of a sudden you just get a dropout in the middle of your movie and it costs you $12,000 to go remix it or something. So.